The devil's on the loose and he's dancing with the mummy.
Deep from the bowels of the Macabre Theater Laboratory, we bring you Macabre Cast.
There is nothing wrong with your streaming service. You are exactly where you should be, where the slush puppy machine is always on and cold. Your favorite horror mag is on the rack discreetly between Women's Wear Daily and Cosmopolitan. I'm Doc Mark, your host, along with my mold-riddled counterpart, Karis, the Little Mummy, here to bring you the latest episode of Macabre Cast, where we'll be dropping R's where they belong and adding them where they don't. Newbies welcome, regulars welcome back, and worsifers get out of here. This is a safe space for those who know when the word final is added to the title of a horror franchise sequel, it is anything but final. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, and follow my show on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and when I'm not violating infantile community standard rules, TikTok. Tell your friends to do the same, even that guy who risked being in the doghouse with his wife when he used her holiday roast as bait in hopes of catching the killer shark of Amity and cashing in on that $3,000 bounty. Yeah, that guy. We see you, Charlie. If you wish to interact with fellow Monster Kids or even the Drag Pack Elite, follow the Facebook page, Macabre Theater. It's there where you can send me a voice message through Messenger and participate in the show. A link can be found in the description of this episode. Or, if you prefer, send me an email at macabretheater666@gmail.com. Macabrecast episode 162 and all of its gory glory begins now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Adoro il cast macabro.
It's a long way to Ohio if you want to rock and roll.
Yes it is.
So, the Ohio gigs, they went well?
They went very well. The outdoor festival that they expected 1,000 people to show up to, they got 2,000 people showing up. So it went very well.
Are you tired?
Yeah, just a bit.
You know, Doc, Forrest Gump had it all wrong.
What do you mean?
Life is not a box of chocolates.
No?
No, it's more like a jar of jalapenos.
A jar of jalapenos?
Yes. What you do today might burn your ass tomorrow.
And on that note, it's time for horror news. Robert Eggers' Werewolf trailer will be dropping with the next full moon. Brian Duffield is writing the next Alien movie for 20th Century Fox. Evil Dead Burn is reportedly the least bloody in the franchise, but the most brutal. Evil Dead Wrath is set to take place in 1972. Now, could this be a prequel to the original? Knowing my luck, probably not. The whole franchise seems to be based off of Evil Dead Rise. A Creepshow video game will be released in August of 2026. Mike Flanagan has wrapped production on The Exorcist. And that's it for horror news.
And Draven agrees. Draven the blood-vomiting bat. Children of the night, what messes they make.
I just want to take 5 minutes to say how excited I am about this Peacock series, Crystal Lake. Because now I'm hearing that this is going to take place. It's going to be 8 episodes. It's going to take place 8 or 9 months after the supposed drowning of Jason. So this will be the first year after that event when the camp tries to reopen. So I'm so stoked about this, and the pictures I've seen, I cannot wait. Please, Crystal Lake. Please, Peacock. Do not let me down. So a couple of weeks ago, myself, Laura Horror, and Jack-O-Lantern ventured out to see Obsession before it fell out of theaters into oblivion. Directed and written by Curry Barker and done very well, I might add. This makes me all the more excited that Curry will be directing his version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And based on his love for the original, who could ask for anything more? Bear works at the musical instrument store. Think like Guitar Center if you live in Massachusetts. And Bear has a mad crush on his co-worker Nikki, who has many times friend-zoned him. Hoping to break through that friend zone, Bear goes to a New Age gift shop hoping to find a similar necklace to one Nikki had recently lost. His plan is to give it to her while they're out with friends. He instead suddenly becomes interested in a novelty gift called One Wish Willow. The trinket claims to grant you one wish when you break it in half. Bear, of course, makes his one wish for Nikki to love him more than anyone else. What happens is her love is more like obsession, hence the film title. Her behavior becomes intensely erratic, and everyone around them can't figure out what is wrong with her, setting up some really unnerving and awkward sequences. At times, you see that the real Nikki is still in there, yet unable to stop what the other Nikki is doing, making the scene where they have sex oddly look like rape. Even though this movie is truly a suspension of disbelief, I could not help but draw comparisons to those who suffer with mental illness. I found the film unnerving and suspenseful, and an ending that Laura Horror, myself, and Jack-O-Lantern discussed for a good hour or so afterward. I give Obsession 4 out of 5 stars, and one of those stars goes solely to N. Navarrete for the amazing acting job as the part of Nikki.
Oh, check it out!
You are listening to Dark Marks Macabre Cast, episode 162.
It really pained me to have to miss having an episode on June 23rd due to the gigs in Ohio. But there really was no time to put it together. And July is going to be hairy because we have 3 big gigs, 3 weekends in a row in July. If you're from Massachusetts, the first one will be at the MGM Casino in Springfield, Mass. That is a free event. So if you want to make the trek to Springfield, Mass and gamble away your house, Blizzard of Oz will be performing there that night, and it is free to all those who attend. Then we have one in Claremont, New Hampshire at some point, and I believe one at an outdoor show in Rhode Island at the Rathskeller. But now I'm worried about certain shows happening in July. But I will do my best to not miss any more weeks until I fly off to Monster Island in August. And I'm not complaining. I'm very happy. The band is doing very well. Great reception. New drummer. Again, yes, this is now the 3rd drummer. Unfortunately, Ken left due to medical issues. But I'm not complaining anyway. The things are great. And I will do my best to stay consistent, because usually the only week of the year I miss is when I go to Monster Island, and I would hate to have to miss another one. But I don't think so. The other situation was different because we had to drive out to Ohio. But July will be a little hairy, and I will do my best to bring you Macabre Cast.
Is this something
something you could share with the rest of us, Amazing Larry?
Greetings, Doc, Mark, and Kara's the little mummy. Scary Larry here. Dark, glad you're back from touring. Let's do this. Hey, Karis. We know that Dark is all about Aussie. What kind of music are you into? Are you a rap guy, or are you into ragtime? So I came across a horror movie I hadn't heard of from 2018 called The Dark. I wasn't impressed for the first 15 minutes, but whoo boy, I'm glad I didn't shut it off. Without giving away the entire movie, this teenage girl is undead, and she comes across a teen boy who is being held captive and is blind. Instead of ripping him open to feed, she does her best to help him get back to his mother. As it unfolds, you figure out how dark both of their backstories are, and it draws you in to see how it plays out. It's not your typical zombie movie, but it does hold its own. 3 out of 4 stars from me. Find it streaming for free on Prime.
Good old Scary Larry making me the butt of his joke once again.
The plot of The Dark really sounds good. And I'm so glad to hear that it's on Amazon Prime because I do want to have a chance to see this film. Somehow I missed it too. There was a movie called The Dark from way back in the early 80s. But not even in the ballpark. Not maybe this kind of movie. It wasn't even very good. But looking forward to checking this out. Thank you again, as always, Scary Larry, for seeing them. So sometimes we don't have to. I'm really curious if any of the monster kids out there have taken the time to see the Duffer Brothers' new series on Netflix, Something Very Bad is Going to Happen. I reviewed this a couple episodes back, and I know that, the Duffer Brothers, they're very creative, and they get into the Stranger Things, and I don't think that they planned for that to go so many seasons. And because of its popularity, they get kind of trapped into having to do that, whether they wanted to or not. So I know they were chomping at the bit to do something different, and now they finally have gotten to. And I think 8 episodes is perfect length at about an hour each. You can burn right through the show. It was, kind of surreal and strange, and what you think it was going to, as I said in my review, what you think is going to happen or what's going to lead to is not always necessarily what you think. And I just thought it was a great series. And I don't even want to see another season of it or more seasons. I just want to see more great ideas like this because I think they're very talented. And I like when talented people can branch out and do different things and not kind of get pigeonholed into the same thing. I mean, if they ever went back to Stranger Things, that's fine. But give them the room to be creative. So I'm interested if any monster kids out there have seen it. Do you agree with me? Or maybe you don't. Maybe you think it was trash. I don't know. I happen to really like it. And I'm looking forward to what they have coming up next. But that Something Very Bad is going to happen on Netflix. The Duffer Brothers. Very curious what the other monster kids think of this series.
You were listening to Dark Marks Macabre Cast, episode 162.
I know that Grim Kim and Metal Melody in the past have kind of not had the best stuff to say about Tubi. Which I find weird because horror movie, it drives me crazy having to sit through commercials, don't get me wrong. But, I grew up with that, so I'm kind of used to it. I can deal with it, not a big deal. But they just have such a huge array of horror movies, and yet they have some cheese and some that aren't so great. But I think the option there is crazy good. It reminds me of the old video store days. I mean, their wall of horror films seems like that wall of horror at the video store. And not just horror, they have so much else out there. They really do. I enjoy Tubi. I do wish there wasn't the whole commercial spiel. But it is what it is. But I know in the past that they've kind of knocked it. I knocked Netflix because other than their shows, the series that they put together, a lot of times it's not so much, is film-wise, there's not so much great stuff on Netflix at all. That's why I always say, well, it's good for Netflix. Except the documentaries and except for their series, like Stranger Things and whatnot. So July 10th, Evil Dead Burn drops in theaters, and they just wrapped production for Evil Dead Wrath. And I know that these are sequels off of Evil Dead Rise, and I'm probably alone on this one, I'm from everybody's feedback, I am alone. I was not a big Evil Dead Rise fan. Am I happy that it's gone more back to what the original was in horror? And I couldn't even begin to tell you what I didn't like about Evil Dead Rise. I have high hopes for Burn, even though it is a sequel to that. I guess I just don't know what it is I'm looking for. Because I was one of the ones that always said, I wish it would go back to being scary and be horror. And Evil Dead Burn, the ads do look very creepy. And I'm very interested in seeing it. I guess the way I should be looking at it is I should just be glad they're still making Evil Dead films and that Sam Raimi is still involved. I'll just leave it at that. I should stop griping, because we could be in a world where there's never an Evil Dead film put together by Sam Raimi again, and instead they're going like a thunder train with this. Like I said, they're dropping one film and the other one just wrapped. It's like back to back. The actual Evil Dead remake, I think it was from 2013, was terrible. So I'll actually say Rise is better than that. So I'm sure, like I said, I stand alone with this feeling about Evil Dead Rise, but I have high hopes for Evil Dead Burn.
The following program is rated TV MALV. It contains strong
Land sakes alive! Here comes the chairman of the profanity party.
Hello, Doc Mark, Karis the Little Mummy, and all of the Macabre Cast fans listening. It is me, Melody, checking in for episode 162. Hello. So, I don't have anything, even though it's actually been 2 weeks since we've been on here, new to see. So, nothing as far as reviews or anything like that. I don't have a lot to participate in. However, I do want to say that even with Mark's warning, I went and watched Old Dracula on Tubi. And I can definitely say, yeah, it's nothing like Young Frankenstein at all. What a disappointment. I can't believe they would compare that back then to that. That's like pretty funny. But yeah, they got away with a lot back then as far as like racism goes, like from anything from TV series to movies. That ship it wouldn't fly today because they'd be canceled in a hot second. So yeah, much different world back then in the 70s than it is today. I will say movies I am waiting to see soon. I'm pretty excited about one of them anyway, is Evil Dead Burn. I've seen all the Evil Deads. They're fantastic. That's coming out in July. I am very excited, and I hope it lives up to the hype. Insidious, Out of the Further. That comes out in August sometime. I'm not as excited to see that because the last one was but I'm definitely going to go see that. And The Ice Cream Man looks interesting. That's coming out in August sometime too. I'm not, running to grab my ticket to see that either, but I do want to see that. I want to say before I go that I am sure the Blizzard of Oz rocked in Ohio, and I hope you all had a fantastic time. I enjoyed seeing the pictures on Facebook. What a crowd, like just amazing. Well, that's all I have for now until episode 163. So everybody take care, and I hope you are all enjoying the start of summer. So I'm going to say, wait a minute, let me see if I can do this. Nope, I can't do it. Arrivederci. I want to say arrivederci, goodbye. You got to roll the tongue like arrivederci. Nope, see, I can't do it. Arrivederci. There you go. I know, I'm freaking stupid, but that's okay. Anyway, goodbye.
Good old potty mouth Melody. My granddad knows her. He's about the same age. He said when they were little, she used to throw rocks at frogs.
Cecil, what did I tell you about hanging around with those podcasters?
Aww, fiddlesticks.
Thank you, Meadow Melody, for the kind words about Ohio. Yeah, it was a heck of an experience. The first night at the Robbins Theater was fantastic. What a crowd. And they were so into it. And the festival we did the next night, the outdoor festival, which was supposed to, they expected 1,000 people, brought 2,000 people. Fantastic. Great time. I am glad to be home, I will say that. And even when you don't have something to review, Meadow Melody, we love hearing from you every week. We truly do. I mean, it was just nice hearing that you explored old Dracula, and, it is what it is. Look forward to hearing from you every week, Meadow Melody. Take care. We are so desensitized these days to horror, and it's really tough to actually get scared anymore. And that's why the only time I feel the hair stand up on the back of my neck is with situational horror, like Hostel. Yeah, sure, there are some implausible scenes, but at the end of the day, it is a movie. And the concept of being deceived and lured into something horrible while being a stranger in a strange land, especially in another country, is very plausible, hence Hostel. But after returning with the band from the gig in Ohio and thinking back on how long I've been performing, I played in many types of clubs in my time. Many I would not even go and have a drink in on my own time because they were that sketchy. So when it comes to relatable situational horror, one film that comes to mind is Green Room. Green Room is about this punk rock band, a club band, that doesn't really make much money. And that's relatable because, trust me, the club scene can be terrible. And most bands are very, very underpaid. So, you're always venturing out to find a place for decent pay. And in the film, a friend mentions a club where the pay is much better. And I guess what they don't realize is it's a skinhead club, like a neo-Nazi club, which this band is anything but. And they do the gig. A couple of their songs really don't go over very well, but regardless to say they do the show. And they collect their things, and I guess a girl in the band forgets her phone in the green room and heads back. And at the time, some of the workers at the club had just murdered somebody, and the body is laying there beneath them, and she walks in on this. And so now they can't let the band leave. I think they managed to call 911. The club actually gets two of their patrons to stab each other in a mock fight. So when the cops arrive, that's the situation the club hands over to them while they hold the band hostage in the green room. And Patrick Stewart, who's famous for Jean-Luc Picard on Star Trek The Next Generation, he's the club owner, and he's so menacing. He's such a great actor to go from like Jean-Luc Picard to this character. The movie's very intense. Again, it's a group finds themselves in a situation accidentally that they now have trouble getting out of. And this is what I mean by relatable horror. Stuff that can pretty much happen to anyone. Or being in the wrong place at the wrong time. still can be very frightening because it's relatable. I'm curious if you have films, Monster Kids, that you find relatable or situational type horror that get to you. Because this was definitely one that got to me in a situation I easily could have found myself in. Because I said as I was performing in some of these clubs before I was even out of high school. So very light. This is very believable to me, especially those skinhead clubs, which I've never been in and never played in, but I can just imagine. Situational horror. Do you have one that comes to mind that you related with and, found personally frightening to you?
Don't touch that dial, Monster Kids.
Yeah, you don't know where it's been.
Pipe down, it's almost time for the final thought.
Not quite, bro. Not before. Cobwebbed classics.
Ooh, yeah, Cobwebbed classics.
Cobwebbed Classics. Welcome to Cobwebbed Classics, where I dust off a lost, forgotten, or just plain unappreciated film and introduce it to, or maybe just remind you about it, so your spooky Saturday night might run a little creepier. This week's Cobwebbed Classic is 1987's Near Dark, directed by Catherine Bigelow, starring Lance Henriksen, Jenny Wright, Adrian Pastar, and Bill Paxton. This film has the perfect blend of the horror and Western genre. This is a lesser-known film because unfortunately the Lost Boys came out at the same time. Need I say more? This vampire flick is anything but scary and is more along the lines of an action film. When a farm boy meets the girl of his dreams, he unwillingly becomes a member of a roaming band of vampires, traveling the countryside in stolen vehicles. There's a great police shootout that takes place during daylight hours, with the vampire gang holed up in a motel room. As bullets pierce through the walls, sunlight rays pour through the holes. The film's focus is on what the farm boy is going to do: get his newfound love away from this band of desperados or become one of them. Director Catherine Bigelow was the fiancée to James Cameron at the time, who convinced her to use cast members from his big hit Aliens. Lance Henriksen prepared for the role as the lead vampire by coming up with his own origin tale of a Confederate Navy man from the 1800s. The driver who gives Bill Paxton the finger is James Cameron. Taglines for this gem are as follows:
Pray for daylight. The night has a price. From the producers of The Hitcher comes another horror hit.
1987's Near Dark is this week's
Cobwebbed Classics.
Goditi questo episodio de Cast Macabre.
Thank you, Maria Monstalia, for telling our Italian friends to enjoy this episode of Macabre Cast.
Have you ever innocently stepped into a precarious situation, and by the time you realized it, it was too late? Pretty frightening, isn't it? Maybe you have an experience you'd like to share with the Monster Kids. We're dying to hear it. Until next time, always, always be aware of your surroundings. Beware the moon. Keep clear of the moors. But most of all, remember, be good to yourself. This is Dark Mark, signing off. See you soon, I hope.
This is a Macabre Theater production.
Subscribe.